My first guest is an incredibly talented woman, I think, and a lovely actress, and she's starred in some of the most popular and financially successful movies ever made. It's nice when movies are both, although it isn't necessary. They include, as you must know, Mary Poppins and Hawaii, and the Americanization of Emily and The Sound of Music. And what have I left out? Star, Darling Lily. She's been in lots of films, and I'm delighted that she's here tonight. I met her once that she doesn't remember. Maybe it'll come to her during the evening. I'll tease her with it. Will you welcome, please, the beautiful and wonderful Miss Julie Andrews. What, you said that's a dirty trick?
Very dirty trick, yeah.
That I met you once and didn't tell, because I saw you the other night here in town, but
I remember I was outside the Dixie Hotel, and you came by in a cab and you whistled, right?
No, that was someone else. No, but you were outside the Dixie Hotel. Is this Dixie Hotel still there? I guess it must be. No, I don't want to keep you in suspense. At some point during the evening, I will reveal it. Let me know when the suspense gets so unbearable.
How about if I scream right now?
No, I want to wait a while.
Oh.
I'll wait a while. You're not going to snatch off your hair like Carol Burnett did.
Wasn't that great?
That was a great shock,
yeah.
To say to a woman, what do you do to let your hair down? And she said this and pulled it off. She's a good friend of yours, though.
Actually, talking about Dixie Hotel, we decided if we ever did another special, we would do it in the lobby of the Dixie Hotel.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we thought it would be fun.
I know for people, when I was a kid, way back on the Jackie Gleason show, there was used to do a joke about memoirs of an elevator operator in the Dixie Hotel.
Oh, yes.
It's been a joke for years, although the hotel is all fixed up now.
Well, we could try Filene's Basement or something like that.
What does that mean?
Filene's Basement? It's a bargain basement in a shop called Filene's in Boston.
Oh,
I just did a commercial, didn't I?
Oh, you may have,
yeah.
Yes. You may get a bargain in the mail. Do kids recognize you on the street as Mary Poppins?
Yes, and they sometimes expect me to do something magical, and then it's very hard.
Do you carry any tricks about with you?
No.
So you can do that?
Just a sharp cuff across the ear usually does it.
It's such a W.C. Fields.
That's right, yes.
I didn't know that. That was your first film, wasn't it? Mary
Yes.
Poppins?
Yes.
Nothing else you'd never done any little films or?
No, I did commercial in England once for something or other, but nothing, no.
Yeah. Were you prepared for the great success of it? Were you floored by the tremendous
Something
success?
nice happened. I had made Poppins and Emily and The Sound of Music, and none of them had been released. So I had all the great fun of making films and none of the responsibility of having them released.
They were all in the can, so to speak.
And
then all came out at once.
Well, kind of just one after the other,
Yeah. What is there a kind of role that you'd really like to get into, to kind of get out of the pure image you have? Do you know what I mean by the pure image?
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, no, but would you like to do a real low-down, wretched, Tobacco Road type part?
No, not really. I wouldn't mind doing a low-down kind of hokey thing, something really wacky and wild. That would be great. I'd love to do an out-and-out comedy and try that. And I'd like to do a modern film. I've never done anything that wasn't in a period costume. It wasn't a period film. I mean, even Emily, which sort of seems modern, was 1942 or something.
What about
like that.
the Hitchcock?
I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah, I'd forgotten. Yeah. No, you're right.
See, it must be nice to be able to forget an entire... I like that. Now, could you clear up one thing for me, and then we'll never have to discuss it again?
Only if you'll tell me where we met.
Okay, I will, right after this.
Okay.
Why did you not make the movie of My Fair Lady? It's never been completely explained to me.
It's very simple. I had never made a movie. I was not a star. I was not box office.
But you were the star of it on Broadway.
Yeah,
Everybody had bought the record.
People on Broadway or around Broadway might know, but certainly people out in the middle of America and out here and didn't know me from Adam,
Yeah.
And so I understand it. I'll never forget it, but I understand it.
You'll never forget it. You must have been really sore at the time, because it was certainly your part.
It's nice to have the kind of compensation that I had, which was Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
And so I felt, kind of...
Was that a decision made by one man or a group of people? Or?
I don't really know. I don't know why. Maybe I was silly, but I didn't really hold out much hope for it. I mean, I didn't think that I would get it, just because I knew I never made a film, and how could I, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it wasn't that the greatest surprise.
No.
I'll tell you where we met.
Where?
Your dressing room.
Where? Which dressing room?
Are we on the air? I was still in college when My Fair Lady opened.
Yes.
And it opened in New Haven.
Yes.
And an opening night.
Which was a thunderstorm or a snowstorm or something.
Yeah, and something went badly wrong. I remember Moss Hart came out before the curtain and said, everyone went, oh, because they'd heard all about this show.
Yes.
And he said, no, nobody's sick. It's but one of the turntables.
Both turntables. We had two of them, and neither of them were going to work. And he just warned the audience. But you came back afterwards?
I was there, and there was a sense of just gigantic success about it that night. It went about an hour longer than normal because stagehands had to come on and turn the tables.
That's right. They had to crank them by hand, and the show ran about 4 hours. And it was the first time we'd ever really done it, you know, with an audience. And I remember I got my wig on backwards that night.
You did?
Yes. I had an incredibly fast change, and I just, you know, I had different hairstyles for different parts of the play. And I ran in and put on my wig and got in my costume, ran out and did my number and came off. And at the end of the show, Cecil Beaton came back furious, and he said, not that way, you silly girl, this way.
And turned your hair around?
Just, yeah, like
you should have done the same thing to him.
Yes.
Yes. I think he does, doesn't he? I'm not sure.
He forgave me later, but it was...
Well, it's funny. I'm surprised with all the excitement of that night that you don't remember my coming. I was just a student, and people were thronging backstage, and I thought, I'm going to see where they're going.
I don't remember any one particular student. You know, there were many, of course.
Yeah. Well, it's probably because I didn't either say anything to you or make myself known in any way.
I probably was still in a stupor.
I stepped into the dressing room and stepped out. You were wearing some sort of plaid pants.
Was I?
Yeah.
How fascinating.
Yeah, no, you really were. They were, I'll never forget them. They were trousers, I mean.
I'll give them to you if you like.
Well, stand up. Let's see. Oh, well, I don't think we're... That's all. I've always wanted those pants. No, I'm not even sure. Yeah, it was the first night, sure. Do you remember a pair of sort of red plaid
The pants I remember.
trousers?
Unfortunately, I wish I could say I remembered you, but isn't that awful?
Maybe if I were red and plaid, you could remember. Well, let's watch the great... What is this? Oh, now let's watch The Great Smell for Men, Brute by Fabergé.
How do you watch it?
I don't know. Let's take a look at it. I want to know what kind of a kid you were.
Well,
Where you were a child star at what age? 12, 14, something like that? Very early.
About 12, professionally, yeah. But my parents, my stepfather, I should say, was a singer. And when I was about 7 or 8, really to keep me occupied because my school was evacuated because of the war and things like that, he decided that just to keep me busy, he would give me some singing lessons. And I don't know whether he had heard me singing or anything like that. I never thought I could sing, but he started teaching me and found that I had a voice, and it was a kind of freak voice.
How do you mean that?
Well, it had an incredibly large range. It was very thin and quite squeaky, but terribly long and very powerful. And I could do incredible acrobatics with it. I mean, you know, all sorts of coloratura songs, and it sounded a bit like a juvenile Ema Sumac or something like that, you know?
The lady who sang 4 octaves?
That's right, yes.
You have a great range.
No, I had 4 octaves. I don't anymore.
You've lost octaves?
Yes.
At what age do octaves start falling away?
Well, depends if you're a boy or a girl.
Oh.
Mine kind of started to crash about my ears when I was about 17. And I guess that what happened was that instead of being a long, thin voice, my voice began to mature and kind of, you know, shorten.
You lost notes at both ends or at one end?
Yes, and the whole gimmick by the time I was 17 was that I was this fantastically incredible high singer. And when I started to lose them, I thought that, you know, I might as well take my life. You know, there was nothing else left.
Really? You were that sad about it?
Well, no, that worried, because I was committed to shows and I was expected to sing, and when you suddenly can't, I was kind of worried. But
you said your stepfather, did you not live with your real parents?
no, my real parents were divorced. I lived with my mother and her second husband, that was my stepfather.
Oh, I see.
And my dad also remarried, and they both had separate children. And
So you have a lot of half-brothers and sisters?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Well, was it rough for you as a kid being thrown into the theater, which is a wicked world that's supposed to warp you and turn you into it?
No, it was kind of fun. Looking back on it, I suppose there were rough times, but you never think at the time that they're rough. I mean, you know, I was allowed all sorts of privileges that other kids were not, and I mean, I was allowed to go into the theater, and I was allowed to watch from the side of the stage and get involved in it all, and I felt I was the luckiest girl in the world. I guess I did miss out on a few things. I didn't have that many chums of my own age and things like that, and I didn't have much schooling. And
you didn't?
No, I I had a kind of spasmodic schooling until I was about 12 when I did start working professionally. And then I had a governess who, God bless her, tutored me and taught me anything I might know. You know.
Did anybody warn you as you were going into the theater that there are people who will say, "Want to sit on my lap, little girl?" And
well, I had
like
a few awful letters from one or two people that thought it might be fun to write like that. But no, people said that people in the theater were terrible and evil and I ought to watch out. And I never found a soul that was really mean to me. And I guess, you know, people never hurt puppies. And I guess when I was really young, they never thought to hurt me either.
Yeah. Have you met any lousy people since
then?
then?
Well, of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. We can get to some of those later
yes.
when Blake gets out.
In the next commercial, yeah.
Okay. I wonder, I asked you about your image earlier. I hope that doesn't bother you because I don't see anything wrong with your image, or I'm not even sure you have that one, because you have played a kind of variety of roles.
Well, I think I do have an image. It'd be silly not to admit that people think in a certain way about me. I'm not completely sure.
Well, they wouldn't
what that
cast you as Geronimo.
No. No. Well, go on.
Do you want to let loose a string of profanity here?
No, I did that in the dressing room before I came on.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you decide to write a book all of a sudden?
Oh, I see where you're leading. It had to do with a string of profanity, in actual fact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a long story. I'll be as brief as I can. My stepdaughter, Blake's daughter, Jennifer, was 11 years old, and all of us, that's Blake's 2 children, my daughter, secretaries, and Blake's associate producer and his wife, and a nanny, and all sorts of other people, were all on location in France and Belgium and Ireland for the film Darling Lily that we were all making. And the children just kind of went berserk. There was no one really to keep an eye on them, and they never brushed their teeth, and they never put on clean clothes, and they really just ran wild. And I finally said, this has got to stop, being very officious and in my proper Mary Poppins manner. And so I dreamt up I said, let's make a game out of it. Come on, whoever doesn't brush their teeth 3 times, who fails to brush their teeth 3 times, or who doesn't at least pick up clothes and put them in the laundry basket to save us all the trouble, will have to pay a forfeit. And Jenny, my stepdaughter, said, okay, but you play too. And I said, all right, well, what should I do? And she said, don't swear so much. And I didn't realize that I had been swearing, talking of profanities, and so I said, okay, and lost my part of the game within the first half hour we started to play it. And so...
I bet you can make a stagehand blush when you want.
No, I don't think so. But anyway, I said, well, okay, what's my forfeit to be? Yeah. And she said, well, okay, write me a story. And so I said, fine. And I was going to write just a short thing and get it over and done with and try to make amends. But then I thought, no, I'll try and write something that may turn out to be just a little constructive, that might teach us something, that might make something of this summer that it's not. And so I decided to try and write a story about a little girl who lived in the country, because Jenny's a girl who lives mostly in the town. And that's how it came about. And then I just couldn't stop writing.
I have it's called Mandy, and it says Julie Edwards. So you're not capitalizing on your well-known name, which is interesting. It's a nice book for kids.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you actually wrote it. It's not.
I really did. No, it took me 2 years to do it, believe it or not. And because I didn't, do it all at once. I did it when I could. And every time, Jenny doesn't live with us all the time. She lives with her mother in London, and every vacation that she came to spend with us, she'd say, is it done yet? Is it ready? And I finally really had to finish it.
Yeah.
And,
I'm glad you did.
No, so am I.
Lowry, just the thing for anybody who's ever had that secret desire to conduct a great big symphony orchestra. My next guest may have had that desire. Would you like to meet your husband?
Oh, please, will you get him out here quickly?
Oh, well, aren't I interesting enough?
I just need some support.
Okay, you don't need support, but anyway, if you want some, we'll bring this guy out here. Julie Andrews, this man has seen her wake up in the morning and knows her well, I'm sure. He's her husband, that's what he is. He's a distinguished film producer and director, besides. And he's done films, you probably know, like The Great Race and A Shot in the Dark and Days of Wine and Roses and Breakfast at Tiffany's. And I could go on and on. But why do so? Will you welcome, please, her husband, and his name is Blake Edwards, and here he is.
Frenchman back there who's been trying to get me to sell him my shorts.
My name is Cousteau?
Yes,
Yes,
so.
the great underwear explorer. With all the underwear explorers in Hollywood, I had to stick on Jacques Cousteau. Say, your wife has a question for you. We were discussing something earlier. No is the answer?
What's your question?
You haven't even heard the question.
No, I always start that way.
Mm-hmm. Remember the thing we were going to ask him someday?
You were going to ask him, not me.
Oh, when the movie is written and the scene comes up, I will come over and ask Blake if it's all right to appear mother naked, as they say in Nebraska, on the screen. Is it a flat no? Now and forever?
It's all right if you appear mother naked.
I'm sorry, I keep saying flat no. I must be Carol Burnett. I don't know what it is. No.
Everybody knows, including Carol, that I have much bigger boobs than she does.
I'm going to have to see Mary Poppins again. Can you control this woman when she gets...
No, I'm always amazed by these things. Do you really, darling?
Oh, the last laugh. That's the
I'll have to
unforgettable.
drop over and see Carol.
That's the
Over my dead body, you will.
Over Joe's dead body.
Yeah.
Okay, may I insert something wholesome here now into the conversation? I was going to say, never mind. I was going to say, you do refuse, though. Is that true? Or
No,
would you,
I really don't. What's the question?
The question was, are the circumstances under which you would allow Mrs. Edwards to appear in a natural state before the cinematic audience?
Yeah, under certain conditions, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and first of all, it's really not up to me to allow or disallow. I might, state my approval or disapproval, but...
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what he's interested in, I think.
Well,
I would be against it if it was kind of gratuitous nudity, if it was done for some kind of sensationalism.
Terrific.
If it was...
Gee.
Well, I'm against it anyway, No. Oh, boy.
It's hard to talk about a thing.
It's very hard for me not to... Okay. Anyway, no, I would say, fine.
Yeah, if it were...
Depending on what it was.
You're
what
a
the
fine
role
one to
was.
talk, but we had a love scene in Darling Lily and with Rock Hudson, and you got all unglued about it, and...
Well, I hate to bring that up, but you weren't doing it very well, darling.
Oh, God. I can't win.
You had a scene
No,
in that movie.
I have to admit that only having been married a very short time and seeing your wife on the floor making love to Rock Hudson, and I'm standing over them saying, no, do it this way, or that's not... I thought I was fairly sophisticated, but I found...
I thought Hudson was. Didn't he know how to do it? We're all going to be asked to leave, I mean, how to play the scene.
Yeah, he did.
Directorial.
But it, took a little coaching.
But they decided it was not necessary to the movie. And
I found out that it was just a problem that I was having, and obviously I had regressed to some infantile state at that point that I had not anticipated, and I took her aside and told her so. Said, I'm having a little trouble relating to this, so just be patient. And she said she would, although she wasn't.
And the scene never did appear.
Yeah, but... Well, maybe it didn't. They really kind of slashed that picture up so much over a period of time that it may not have.
Why does this happen? This is one of the things I hear all the time, that pictures get taken apart by other people who didn't have anything to do with making them and all. And it's a constant mystery to me why it happens.
It's a constant mystery to me, too, because I think it's certified insanity, really, to hire somebody and say, I want you to make a film for me because ostensibly you're qualified to make this film. And then once hired, they begin to tell you how to make it. And once it's done, they say, now you're no longer qualified. We are going to show you what the film should be like. Do you happen to read Frank Capra's book?
No.
The Name Above the Title?
No, I will.
He talks about just that subject. And he was kind of the last of the really great one-man, one-film operations. And he's living proof that...
In this country, anyway.
Yes, in this country.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he is living proof that it works best that way. It really does. The best films, certainly the best films I've ever made, have been when I have had the most control, when I was with the Mirisch Company and where, God rest his soul, Harold Mirisch and his brothers Walter and Marvin said, you come with us and we'll insulate you, we'll protect you. You make this film. And you make it your way. And as long as you stay within certain boundaries, financially and things like that, you have the control.
Why doesn't everybody just make movies the way Ingmar Bergman does? He doesn't let anybody tell him anything to do with it. He won't let anybody on the set he doesn't want on it.
I wonder where he gets his financing from, though, because that's really...
Well, that's the question.
Well, I mean, is it government financing that he has?
I don't know for sure, but you realize that the United States is probably the only country that does not subsidize its film industry. Mm-hmm. And that's too bad, you know.
That's right, he works for Svenska Filmindustriet or whatever it is.
And they believe in him. He is a talented man, a brilliant man, you know, and they say, well, he's got a track record, we must go with him, you know.
But he did it with his American movie. He said, you know, nobody calls me, nobody bothers me, I don't give any interviews, I have no... He allowed himself to have a press agent for the first time in his life, but only after a strict interview with the man to determine
Good for him.
You know, what he was like.
I saw the show with him, and it was fascinating. We both did.
Yeah. You know, there was some talk here the other day, people outside the business don't see these, but there's a thing called the trades, and an ad was taken by two people who were obviously furious that their movie had been cut, what they call the final cut in the movies. Can you explain what the final cut is and why you would be furious?
Well, if they were complaining about the final cut, I don't know why they were furious, because unless they had the right to the final cut, I think that maybe what they were complaining about was not the final cut, but the first cut.
Oh, maybe
probably that's what they were complaining about. It really doesn't mean that much. One hopes that it means something. It gives you a certain amount of dignity. If you were a director, you, by guild rules, are allowed a director's cut. Mm-hmm. And I believe that, I'm not sure about this because I don't know about that ad, but that prerogative was taken away from them arbitrarily. Yeah. And that they weren't even allowed to present their first cut, their version, in the hopes that somebody would see it and say, well, you had, you know, you directed this or you produced it.
You should explain, though, darling, that normally what happens is that a director is allowed, what, 2 cuts?
No, not normally. It depends.
Yeah, but finally...
It varies. Very few directors now have final cut. Yeah, it is left in the hands of the money. Yeah. And I have seen, time and time again, important directors taken over... Their picture taken over by the studio, by people who have no knowledge of film, really have no knowledge of film, don't even have first year UCLA cinema credits, really wouldn't know what to do in a cutting room, just don't have any credentials. Go in and say, I'm going to cut this, and do cut it.
Who were some of the bad guys who do this?
Well, I don't want to do that at this point because I'm going to, just about everybody. I can tell you who I think are the good guys at this point. And you can guess from that who I think are the bad guys.
Adding the other names.
Yeah, unfortunately, because I myself may be into a very heavy situation soon over a principle that I'm standing for, and I'm going to be under heavy attack because of it. And just some of the things that we're talking about, their business is dying rapidly. And these people are only assisting it to die faster. They really don't like film. They really don't know film.
Well, then why are they in it? They could make an thnormous fortune on Wall Street, but they're in the business you can make money in. Why go into the movies?
It's more to it than that. It's ego, it's power, it's all kinds of strange things that are involved with the arts.
Meeting actresses.
Right.
Well,
don't underestimate that. That's true.
I don't underestimate. Yeah, I think that I'm sure it is.
It's shocking, but it's true.
Childhood fantasies.
But it did for me.
That's right.
No, but the thing is that everybody seems to feed off the motion picture industry. It's like you've said it, Blake, it's like a lovely animal that once was a giant, beautiful, prehistoric
clumsy,
animal.
Faulted animal, but...
And it did have its faults, but people just picked at it and got what they could off it and just kind of left the skeleton lying around.
Unfortunately, the business began on a dishonest level, and the dishonesty was perpetuated, and everybody got involved.
Plenty of leeches, but nobody feeding the animals.
David Lee is down.
Yeah, really provocative guys.
Yeah. Here we are. Oh, gee, this time is going by. We don't have much left. Not over yet, but we don't have a lot of time left. Which of you has the temper in the family? It's always... The man has it. The woman doesn't have any, eh?
Yes, she does.
Does she?
But until recently, she has had a hard time showing it, and I've kind of been...
What do you mean?
I see.
That's what's happened recently.
Yeah. It's good. Do you feel angry often, but you've held it in?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a hard time recognizing that I'm angry until about an hour's gone by and I've been chuntering away and steaming, and then I suddenly think, my God, I really am angry. I'd better do something about it.
And what do you do then? Just do you screen? Do you let off the steam?
I suck my thumb a lot.
Yeah.
Well, now she's beginning to express it more. She's really coming out in front with it and saying, listen, I don't like this, and I'm not sure whether I like encouraging her anymore. No, I do.
Created a monster,
No,
Doctor.
I think she's much better for it. I can't take all of the credit,
But yours flares out like a real Hollywood director's temper is always supposed to. Just flares out there and
yeah,
you level somebody right in front of you.
a tough temper, yeah.
Yeah, I have that too.
Do you?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
get over it quickly?
Yeah, and then I feel ashamed. And I did it today to a woman I saw wearing a tiger skin coat.
Good.
Yeah, and
Good.
this old croc was wearing this tiger skin coat. I get mad thinking about it. She said, I didn't kill it. And I said, well, there are a lot of you, and there aren't very many tigers, you know. You know, it's not, I did. It's
Then you work
a nasty thing to say. I mean, she's just genuinely ignorant, probably, and doesn't know that the fact that she bought the coat will make other people buy them, and some more tigers will be ordered killed, and they'll be
it's not
extinct before
anything to be
she is.
humorous about it. I think it's very
But
serious.
the point is that I do have that nasty temper that flares out.
So do I.
I'm so aware of it.
The worst thing is when I can't express it, when I get caught in a trap and I'm frustrated and I can't let it out in some way, and then I just eat myself up. It's a mess, and then I take it out on the kids and on her and everybody.
Nearest person.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
But they know it, kind of. And
Oh, Daddy's at it again. Let's go. Leave him to it.
Now, she has a favorite expression that puts me down immediately.
What is it?
Well, I can't say it.
Oh.
It starts with bull.
Oh, it does? Oh.
And ends with blackie. And I say, well,
That stops you.
yeah, usually. Yeah.
Did you get in fights a lot as a kid, either of you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I was kind of goody two-shoes, I think. I don't know how we ever got married, do you?
Did people say you're marrying Mary Poppins, ha ha ha, and do jokes about it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Probably because I have a temper.
They teased you a lot after.
Yeah, I was teased a lot, but it was good teasing and fun. And the people that chose to tease were kind friends, and there aren't many of those in this town.
Yeah. Do you get mad at men as well as women, or just pick on women the way I did with my nasty temper?
No.
I just realized that the only example I gave was of a woman who was
I
older
think I'm
than
a
I
little
was.
unique. Most of my temper is directed toward men.
Yeah.
At least they're the ones that give me the bad time.
Yeah.
Unlike various people in this town.
Is there any remnant of the Blacklist left in Hollywood?
In forms, yes. I think so, sure. There isn't anything written down particularly, but it seems that Hollywood, and you know, I have to qualify right out in front. I made a very good living in Hollywood, and I'm really talking about things that I have grown to discover, and I'm not copping out. I'm not saying that I didn't contribute to them, but there comes a time in your life when you have to say, hey, wait a minute, you know, something beautiful is dying, and what's wrong with it? And too many people in this town are too happy about failure. They're really not interested in success because in some way that it jeopardizes themselves. They really love to see somebody fall. And when that happens, a kind of blacklist is created. You know, Sinatra went down and came back up pretty good. You know, he was able to do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like that have hit the skids because people greased them for them. And only by their own guts and determination got back up, and by their talent, of course, because talent eventually will out. I've been on a blacklist, excessive filmmaking and things like that.
think that-
Nobody talks about the films that, you know, that you did that were good, that came in on schedule.
What's your lowest note? Maybe I see how it...
La da 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 da. You can go there. I can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mr. Edwards, did you know that she was in My Fair Lady, the Broadway version,
No.
and sang a lot of wonderful songs in it?
Really? Was she? And
Oh,
you're going to
yeah.
ask me, should she sing one here?
Yeah. Yeah. Would you like to hear her sing? I don't care, personally.
You don't?
But I thought since, you know, it's probably the last thing you'd ever ask, and
It's going to be the last thing you'll
oh, no, please.
Funny that you should mention that.
Yes.
Is it funny?
You want to really ruin my life for the next week, huh?
Yeah.
You're going to make me say?
Because you obviously have
I
the
don't
final...
have any... No.
No, you have the final cut here in this marriage.
Absolutely.
You know
not.
what's terrible is that this is absolutely no cop out. I'm not sure if I would remember the words.
Well, that's why we had cue cards later. I'm not kidding. This is our little surprise. Aren't we devils? All I want is a room somewhere. Does that ring a bell?
That rings a bell. Could you do
Can
the
you see
next
that?
line
Can you
for
see
me?
that nice man? Oh, I don't. I can do it without cue cards.
Oh, my God, you did do it.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
With one enormous chat, wouldn't it be
good.
lovely? It's easy.
I think he's
anyone
got
can.
it.
Anyone can sing it. Now, the audience might like to hear one of us sing it, like you.
All right, all right. Oh, my God. Poppy? All I want is a room somewhere far away from the cold night air, with one enormous chair. Wouldn't it be lovely? Lots of chocolate for me to eat, lots of coal making lots of heat. Warm face, warm hands, warm feet. Wouldn't it be lovely? Oh, so lovely, sitting absolutely still. I would never budge till spring crept over me windowsill. Someone's head resting on my knee, warm and tender as he can be, who takes good care of me. Wouldn't it be lovely, lovely,
That brings back such memories. Me hiding in the balcony of the Schubert in New Haven.
Reminds me of the night you came back to my dressing room.
Now you remember. That really got to me. That brings back such memories. And I used to sneak into the balcony of that theater in New Haven and watch rehearsals. I snuck in one. Can you say snuck? Snuck. I sneaked in one night, and they were rehearsing
You
with a little
Americans
bit
would
of
say
luck.
snuck, yeah.
Yeah. We say that over here. And then you came out and you sang, and that your voice just goes right through me and out the other side. It's wonderful. Wow.
Cut through any fog, it will. Yeah.
Do you know that I stood in the wings one night in New Haven? I don't know where I got the brass, to use a nice
You were
expression.
just after my plaid pants, I guess, right?
No. You talk worse than Carol Burnett. I sneaked backstage and I stood in the wings. I put a coat over my shoulder.
Did you really do all this?
Yes, I did, and I carried a copy of Variety, and I thought they'll think I'm connected with the show. And I stood in the wings of this Broadway show. Rex Harrison walked past, Kathleen Nesbitt, you, others. Harrison looked off at me a couple times in the wings and figured this guy must belong here because he's standing there. I never told anybody that from that day to this. And I stood there, and then right at the end, the mean old stage manager there said, "What are you doing back here?" And he threw me out, and he made a fool of me carrying your copy of Variety and all that. Yeah, and he was really.
What a mean thing to do.
Yeah,
What should we
on
do?
my part or his? On his, yeah,
Yes.
I thought so. Well,
Gee, you two are a delight. Thank you for being here. The time really flew by.
Well, I've decided it's been so nice that she can take her clothes off.
Oh, and we're out of time. Darn. You'll have to come back. Thank you.